In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create an awesome shiny button just like this one over here from an HTML snippet that you can get on Codepen. Let's get started. Hi, and thanks for joining. It's Amit from Unlimited Elements. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take this HTML and CSS and turn it into a dynamic Elementor widget. So let's get started. I'm inside of a website called Codepen, which has all sorts of HTML snippets and all sorts of cool stuff. And I want to make this into an Elementor widget. It's a button with sort of a shiny CSS effect that is an attention seeker, so it kind of shouts out to the users, click me, and let's get started. So first of all, we need to adjust the HTML and CSS. To do that, and I'm going to take a look at what we have over here. So first of all, this is created from SCSS, which is not supported inside of Elementor or WordPress, so I'm going to change this into regular CSS. The process of doing that is clicking this arrow button over here, clicking View Compiled CSS. Now I need to copy all of this, so Command or Control A, Command or Control C to copy. And inside of Settings, go into the CSS in the pen settings, click CSS and change it to None. Save and close. And I'm going to override the current SCSS to the compiled CSS. So Command or Control A, Command or Control V to paste the old CSS, and I think we're about done with that part. Let's check everything's working. Awesome. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the parts of the CSS that I don't need. For example, there's some CSS over here for the body. I don't want to add anything to my Elementor body, so I'm just going to take that off. And over here, okay, that's looking better. And over here we have two buttons, so I'm going to leave only one. I see there are two different types of effects. One is shiny and the other one is shiny darken. So let's get out the shiny darken. We don't also need a body tag. We just need the button itself. Perfect. And over here we can take off the shiny darken CSS, which we don't need at all. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this button tag into an A tag. The reason I'm doing that is because in general, links in websites are A tags and not button tags. We're going to want to add an href to this and to be able to link it. So let's change this button tag into an A tag and add the href attribute. Let's just put hashtag here. And now you can see it's a regular link. It's not getting any of the CSS. So let's give it an ID and maybe call that, and let's call it button. And now, or let's give it a different name. Let's give it, let's call it shiny button. Perfect. So it's called shiny button. And now we're going to target it everywhere in the CSS. So for example, over here, that's a shiny button. And okay, there you go. That's the first part. Over here, we can add it as well. Shiny button. Let's add hashtag. Perfect, looking good. And the next thing, let's go over all the places that we have this. So over here again, and this is all set up. Perfect. So now you can see the button is going full width. I'm going to change it from block to inline block, which should make that a bit shorter. Perfect. And the next thing I'm going to do, let's take off the margin that we don't need, and let's add text decoration none to take off the underline. So I think everything is almost set up over here. We can also make changes later on if we need to. The next thing I'm going to do is wrap this around with a div. just so I can align it to the center and maybe later on control this inside of Elementor. So let's go for style. I'm just doing this inline to make it simple. Text align, center, and now the button will be centered. Of course, we will make this editable. So let's start getting into how to make this inside of Elementor. So the next thing I'm going to do is just jump into WordPress. Inside of WordPress, of course, you're going to need Elementor installed and a plugin that's called Unlimited Elements. It's a widget library and widget creator for Elementor. Over here, we can just add our button to the button widgets. So there are some predefined button widgets. You can install some of them from the cloud, and let's add our own button. So I'm gonna add widget. I'm gonna call it shiny button and click add widget. Perfect, that's looking good. Double click on it to start editing. Jump into the HTML, and I'm gonna copy my HTML from here and paste it inside. And same thing, Command or Control A, Command or Control C, select all, copy, and paste that Command or Control V. Perfect, so we got everything set up. Now our button should be working. The next step is just to check that everything's connected. So I'm gonna add a new page, and I'm gonna call it button test, just so we can test this out and edit with Elementor, of course. And inside of Elementor, what I'm going to do is in the widget pane, I'm going to search for the word shiny, and that should find my shiny button. Drag my shiny button inside, and awesome, here we go, it's working. So right now it's sort of an empty widget, doesn't have any settings. Let's just save the page and jump into the widget creator framework, where we're going to make everything dynamic and all the settings we need. So usually the first setting is going to be the button text. So I'm going to copy that, jump into the attributes tab, click add attribute, and over here we're going to choose attribute type text field. I'm going to give that a name, so it's going to be button text, click tab, and in the default value you're going to need to paste the button text that you want as default when someone drags inside. So I don't know if it's going to be I need attention. Let's call it, for example, learn more, which I think could be more popular, and we're going to allow font editing. Inside of the HTML, select the static HTML, and over here on the right side you'll see the new attribute that you've just created. Click on that once and it replaces the static HTML with dynamic. Let's just look how this looks over here. So I'm going to refresh the page, and now when it loads we can click on it, and now you can see you can change the text here over here. So let's change that to click me. And we also have a style tab because we selected allow font editing. You can jump into the style tab, click enable styles, and over here in the typography you can play around with the size and the font, whatever you want actually. So let's just change that, click update to save, and start creating some more attributes. The next one is going to be for the link. So I'm going to click add attribute. Attribute type needs to be link, and over here we're going to call it a link, and in the default value hashtag and add attribute. Inside of the HTML, replace the hashtag with the link attribute that we've just added, and we need to add also the link HTML attributes, and I'll explain in 1 second what these are. So just clicking update to save and refreshing the page. Over here now, when I click my button, I have a link attribute, and the this part, the attributes, is for this advanced stuff, link options open a new window, add no follow, all of that will work only if you added the attributes over there. So we have button text and link. Now we can jump into some styling. So first of all, let's add an option to align this differently. So I'm going to click add align, and over here in attribute type, let's go for drop down. So I'm going to call this drop down alignment, and in the item text we can have an option to center the button, align it to the left, or align it to the right. Perfect. Click update to save. Inside of the HTML, we're going to select the static inline CSS and replace that with a dynamic attribute. Jump back into Elementor, refresh, and let's check that everything's working. Click on this once. Now we have alignment. We can align the button to the left or to the right or to the center. So perfect. This is working as well. Let's add some color attributes. So this is built from two different colors. Let's add color number 1. Let's call it color 1. And this is going to be sort of a greenish color. And add attribute. Let's call it color 2. And this needs to be maybe a lighter green. Perfect. I think that looks okay. You can mess around with this later on as well. So in the CSS, we need to jump into the button, our shiny button, and we need to configure our color 1 wherever we have the first color. So over here, over here, and over here. And the second color is over here in the middle. So it's sort of making this effect from a sort of a gradient. We got our colors set up. Let's refresh the page and test that everything's working. Here we go. So as you can see, we have our dark green and the light green is the shiny gradient. So let's just change this, for example, to let's go for sort of a darkish purple with a brighter, maybe pinkish color. And let's check out how that looks. Awesome. Perfect. Let's click update to save and see what else we need to add. So what else I think I'm going to add is something for the padding. And maybe, not sure what else I'm going to add. Let's take this background off because it's a duplicate. Let's add some, so let's do border radius, padding, and we'll give an option to make the button inline or block. So let's go for that. So it can be or full width or inline. So first of all, border radius. This we can make as a slider, which is pretty awesome. And the way we do that is let's just copy this CSS class. And over here, we're going to add an attribute. I'm going to select a slider attribute, and I'm going to call this border radius. Oops, missing an S over here. The default value is going to be 3 like it is right now. And in the CSS selector, I'm going to put my CSS. Over here, I'm going to change this to border radius. And I think we got it set up. Let's just make sure I took it off from the CSS. So over here, you need to take it off, of course, so that doesn't conflict. I'm going to refresh. And click. And now, as you can see, you can change the rounded corners with the slider. How awesome is that? Perfect. So that was that. Let's just go for the padding as well. So again, I'm copying the CSS selector. I'm taking off the padding from the CSS itself. Add attribute, attribute type. This time we're going to be using padding. And let's click responsive control so we can control that in different sort of screen resolutions. And over here, we need to put in our default values. So what I think it was like 15, 25, 15, 25, something like that. And over here, I'm pasting my CSS selector. So that should be set up. Let's test it. Gonna refresh. And now when I click on this, I can start editing my padding. You can unlink it as well. And if you want a bigger value from the side, so for example, 60 from the sides, here we go. That's that. So awesome. You can pretty much control everything over here. And let's see what else. I'm not sure I wanted to do anything else. The only I think another thing that I'm going, I wanted to do two more things. So first of all, we have this display inline block. I want to give an option to make it block so the button can be full width. So for that, I'm going to do, let's add a drop down. I'm going to call it button type. And over here, let's do inline block. And this is the value itself that's going to be injecting inside of wherever we paste the attribute. And the second option will be full width. And the value for that is block. So let's just call this one inline because users don't know what it means inline blocks. This is the value inside of the CSS, and this is what the user sees inside of the dropdown. So over here in the CSS, I'm just going to replace that with my button type attribute and refresh. Let's check that everything's working. So click on that. Right now it's inline. Let's change that to full width. Perfect. And it's working great. Now the next thing I'm going to do is duplicate this. And I want to check what happens if I change it in one place. You can see that it's affecting both of the buttons. Now this is a bit tricky. To do what we need to do is change this into a dynamic ID. Instead of both of them having a static ID, which is this one. By the way, that's not okay in terms of HTML. You can't have the same ID for two different HTML parts in your HTML. So I'm going to change this inside of the HTML. Instead of the ID shiny button, I'm going to replace it over here on the right side with a dynamic ID. Now you don't need to add any attribute or stuff like that for this to show. This shows automatically with any widget that you create. So I'm going to choose this one. And we need to replace it as well in the CSS wherever we have the same ID. So let's go for one place, second place, and the third place. I think that's about it. Click update to save. And now I'm going to refresh. And what I want to make sure is that I can have different values for the different types of buttons. Let's go for a lighter green over here. Look how awesome that is. So we have two different buttons and they're not colliding. There's no conflict between them. Let's change this one to a different font. Make the font bigger. Perfect. So I think that was a great demonstration of how to use the widget creator. Of course, you can make some more sophisticated stuff with this. We have post lists and items and loops and stuff like that. But this was a basic tutorial just so you can understand how it works and some of the different kinds of attributes. As you can see, there are many types of attributes, including even Instagram and stuff like that, WooCommerce categories and awesome stuff. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I'm going to see you in the next video.